Whoa, it's up. God, we are.
Chat up?
No, actually, it's not. What do you think?
Oh, right. Just figured it out.
You know, like, you think this is a perfect process? It's not. For show 106 with our 506 subscribers, we are not prepared. Sorry. Now I am. Chat's up now. Wow, we got some. Oh, you know what we totally forgot to mention?
I do not know.
That's not in the show. Sorry. Some dude landed a Sky King. No, not a Sky Caravan. When the pilot was incapacitated. Totally forgot about that. Oh well.
Yep.
We'll throw our 2 cents in there, I guess. We'll get something out there about it.
Must have done a good job. It looked like undamaged.
Yeah, he did. The testament. Well, something else I need to say about that too. And the Steam Deck is on its way. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. Yeah, that is cool.
Hey, 10 seconds. How about that?
Amazing.
Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2. Everybody, welcome. Not Your Average Show. Mike and Corey with you on April 12th. No, excuse me, May 12th. Whoa.
12th. It is the 12th.
Holy. May 12th, 2022.
Yep.
That's what
one of those days.
That's what lack of sleep will do for you, right?
One of those weeks.
Yeah, it's been one of those months. How's that? So, hey, Corey, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Fine, man. Just carrying on, right?
Carrying on.
Tired, but do what you do.
There we go. We got a lot to talk to you guys about this week. We'll do a couple of tidbits at the very beginning, but what we got going on mostly is JetX is Imitation Jetoptera. You guys will see what we're talking about. If you follow this channel for Jetoptera news, this is kind of an interesting one. Hawaiian Airlines also goes with Starlink. They're going to start rolling some stuff out in the not too distant future. We mentioned that a while back when Starlink was becoming popular. The FAA has some comments on VTOL or eVTOL regs. And then also, last but not least, Air Methods to install the Skyryse, aka flypad technology on their aircraft, their fleet.
Yeah,
which says a lot for that company, because that means that's a huge boon for them. But congratulations. So okay, couple updates right off the top. Finally, you would think that a guy who actually we were sitting at a table at some restaurant in Orlando on the day that the Steam Decks went live, right? The ordering went live.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that.
And I thought I was going to be like day one drop, December when they were going to get here before Christmas. Never happened. Then,
oh my gosh, yeah, it seems so long ago now.
Right, it does. And they pushed it back. And then I was supposed to be a Q1 delivery. No. No. That became a Q2.
Yeah, we can reiterate you were online, like, you ordered in with the first, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
That was
maybe?
I think it was 13 because I couldn't get the transaction to drop through PayPal.
The page wouldn't update. Yeah, you could add to your cart, right? But then it wouldn't complete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
so beyond that, I finally get the email today. And you had 3 days to actually process it out. So I think it was like 72 hours, something like that, right? And so I processed it out and I paid for it. So now I'm waiting for it to ship. So we'll see what it's like. I already started to select my D brand skins for it, which I think I'm going to go with the matte black and maybe some textured ones for the thumb pads, because I hear they got some pretty cool ones. But hopefully we'll have it here next week. We'll be able to talk about that.
Should be real cool. We didn't take a look at the compatibility checker. Remember there was that tool we talked about, which if you guys are interested to get a Steam Deck, remember check out that tool to see what games you have, if they're compatible. But a lot of stuff is going to be compatible in the future anyway. But yeah, we're going to be seeing it on, I'm sure Mike will have it on the stream when he gets it.
Maybe we'll see. The other thing that I hear is really, really, really great is that maybe you were one of the guys that did get it in the first 3 months that they rolled them out, which was awesome if you did, and you weren't a Q2 guy like me. But the difference is they've already released quite a few firmware updates for it and operating system updates for it. So they've made some corrections and they've made some headway on some of the numbers that it's putting up for screen. Frame rates, some of the games that are playable. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that. So let's talk really quick. Did you read the story about the dude that landed the plane or what?
I did. I don't have any particular articles to post, and we could get one and put it down there. But yeah, just real quick, Mike. Yeah, we're talking about a guy who. Well, you go ahead. It's yours. You can talk about it.
Well, no, you talk about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Anyway, so just I don't have any the details in front of me, but basically, ATC got called by a guy, and I think it was a Cessna 208.
Was it a
I
208?
think
Okay, yeah, it was okay. It was
I think it was a 208 off the east coast of Florida, and he basically called up and said something like requesting assistance. My pilot is unresponsive. And ATC called him back, of course, and was like, talking them through. But basically, long story short, I guess it was a passenger
Yep.
and a pilot on the Cessna off the coast, and the pilot had an issue. I didn't see any conclusive things on what actually happened to him, but anyway, he was unable to fly the plane. Passenger knew enough how to talk on the radio to call somebody up, and long story short, they talked him through. Just keep flying towards the coast, pick a direction, go north or south, and we'll find out where you are, because he didn't know where he was. He couldn't, doesn't know how to do anything. He's not a certificated pilot and has no previous flying experience at the controls. So and all said and done, he ended up landing at PBI down in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
On the runway, there's a picture. He apparently did an amazing job. Hats off to that gentleman. We don't know who it was, but and we hope, of course, the pilot is all right. But pretty cool story.
It is pretty cool. Now I'm bringing up the Cessna. I brought up a little bit of the article just to show people the Cessna. The 208, aka the Caravan, right? This thing is known as "quote unquote" the original Trailblazer because this is probably one of the most ruggedized airframes out there for GA aviation and small ingress egress, short field runway ops, unprepared runway operations. And if there's going to be a more stable platform that could fly in at a slow, stall speed, and somebody could be able to bring this in and land it as basically a neophyte in that area. This was like the Swiss cheese model and the perfect storm coming together, not to be a threat and air disaster. This was like the actual opposite of that actually happening, which was pretty cool because the excitement, I'm exuberant about it because it shows that yes, it would take two people to kind of manage the load of landing an aircraft like that in a situation where a pilot becomes incapacitated. But it also shows that with the right mindset, you can get through some pretty difficult things. And I'm sure, maybe they made a couple of approach landings. I don't know. But, the nice thing is maybe somebody played enough flight simulator and they got it. So good for them.
I was actually going to say something just to touch on that real briefly as well, that if you listen to the audio, you can hear the passenger on board when he's talking to the tower. If he is nervous, he's masking it very well, because he appears to be just saying, "Hey, I got a problem and I need some assistance." But he's not, losing his cool. I would be interested to see if he had any maybe training under pressure, military training or something prior, just something, because he kept his composure seemingly pretty well. So hats off again to that gentleman. And
good job. Congratulations to all involved, and even the not the eVTOL, the ATC,
ATC, of course.
They said a 20-year veteran, took over, and he jumped in on the stick, not on the sticks, but on the radios, and he was a calming voice. And look, anytime you're in a situation like that, I've actually been behind helicopters that have strayed into Bravo class airspace, literally at the wrong space in the wrong time, that were part of our company's traffic, and somebody made a mistake, and I've literally watched a pilot not necessarily melt, but have a moment where it was like a competent pilot even made a mistake and strayed into the wrong space, and ATC was, hey, chill out, just move over. There's incidents like that happen, and it's good to know that ATC is prepared and well in advance to handle an emergency like that. So kudos to them.
That is one thing to remember as a pilot, that one of your resources is ATC, and to remember that they do want to get you out of the situation you've got yourself
unless you're
in.
Trevor Jacob.
So just...
Oh, I'm sorry. That flew out of my mouth. I'm sorry.
Well, Mike, he didn't ask ATC.
Oh, you don't say.
He just did his own
you don't
thing.
say. Yeah, you do.
I do.
But the FAA came back and said, "No, see ya." We could talk all day about his secondary video about the FAA pulling his tags, but maybe we'll do another video on that one,
let's not give him any more credit, any more credence.
God, terrible. All right, folks, we got so much more to talk to you about tonight. So far, thanks for chiming in. If anybody's going to leave a comment, let us know in the comments below what you think about that last one. But hey, you guys know that we formed an early special bond with the folks at Jetoptera, one that we've really got to follow up on, but they've been extremely busy in getting themselves to the AFWorks program and really proving the technology of Jetoptera is out there. They partnered up with Northrop Grumman, and along comes JetX, which I will call I guess happily, Imitation Jetoptera. And the funniest part about this one is they don't have any of that. They don't have a partnership. They don't have anything else. What they do have is some really, really great looking drawings that make them look like they just pretty much scabbed off of Jetoptera. So this one's brought to you by New Atlas, and it says JetX tests a non-tilting vector thrust module for eVTOL aircraft. Corey and I took a look at this one. We're like, wait a second. So it's Jetoptera without the tilt?
What is that?
So where's the real sale on this one? And then basically they go into the fact that they're going to use the fluidic propulsion system, but a little bit different name of that. But they're going to use bladeless fans on steroids that Jetoptera is using. So outside of that, it looks like their rudimentary thing here is that they're way, way, way behind in some technology, but they are going to use, get this, they're going to use this thing that's going to be called ventral flaps, external flaps, rotating thrust vectoring, and cascading vanes and buckets to vector their thrust in a different way. But they're still going to actually use basically the Jetoptera principle here. So what's the highest form of flattery? Mediocrity, as it can pave the way to greatness.
Imitation.
Right? And that's Imitation. That's from Oscar Wilde. So what's your thoughts, man?
So yeah, looking on the face of it, again, as you guys know, we do like what Jetoptera is doing, what we're able to see, and what we're able to keep track of. And looking at this, that was our first thought. Okay, yeah, this looks reminiscent of Jetoptera, and they do talk about fluidic propulsion in here as well. They do talk about ducted fan stuff as well. But if you go down, looking at maybe what they've done, again, we know Jetoptera's got some many things going on behind the scenes with Air Force Works and other things they've been partnered with, testing for how noisy they are and or rather how quiet they are. But if you go down and you look at the article here on New Atlas, you can see that the people at JetX out of Orlando are trying to, or are working with the Air Force Works program. They were selected as one of the competitors in the high-speed VTOL showcase, which is actually, I think, the same one as Jetoptera is in. So yes. They are kind of in the same arena there. That being the case, if you guys aren't familiar with the Air Force Works, again, how that kind of goes, some of that stuff happens behind the scenes. So that's kind of a place for smaller companies to get funded through Air Force projects for, obviously defense. Right. And so like Jetoptera, in their sense, we know Jetoptera would have a nice, very good use case for civilian ops, right. But that doesn't appear to be what they're doing first. Appears that because since we haven't heard anything about civilian versions other than, they're on the website, of course, but right. We could maybe think that there may be stuff going on behind the scenes with JetX as well. But nevertheless, it even mentions Jetoptera in this article. So the analog is right there. And so maybe it comes down to execution. They talk about how they're going to put the power plant in, inside the fuselage to mask temperature and noise and stuff.
Sounds familiar.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So, but there you go. It leads to be seen maybe how efficient the lack of rotation. How they're going to look at some of these other things, other ways they're going to use the airflow around these nacelles. Excuse me.
Well,
they do.
Allow me to butt in here for a minute, right?
Get them when they want to do so.
Look, I mean, they basically looks like they take the idea of an F-35, which people have seen before, and they push this to I'm showing the video right now in the background here, and it looks like they push this to the limit, right? But the difference about the fluidic propulsion system that the folks like Andre have, and so on and so forth, like Jetoptera, is that theirs is like this real deal where they're not using off-the-shelf components to kind of get this done. They're using that modern design that they've put together that's going to create the all-in-one solution. And while this might be an evolutionary step of a fluidic propulsive system, it's not revolutionary like Jetoptera. And that's my personal opinion. Now, look, I'm not an expert in engineering, okay? And I can't say that I know everything about this. But I can say that, the only advantage that I would see them having would be the fact that they would possibly have, less moving parts. But in that same part, they really don't have less moving parts, because rather than vectoring the thrust, they have all these components that have to redirect thrust, which means if they fail, there's equally the same amount of problematic systems on board. So it's a really, like they would say in a movie, zero-sum game, right? It's like, but it's flattering to know that others find the same value in the technology.
Yep.
That's important, right? Because there are studies that are coming out now about these other eVTOL types that are saying, hey, at 650 feet, you know, here and there are sound signatures that we have to deal with that are really not as effective as we think. They're good, but they're not great. All right. So, and we could talk about that next week, but anything else that you got to add on this one?
No, I think that's the main thing. It's obviously, as you guys have seen before with the eVTOL space, we're very excited about what's going on there. And we got a little more news about that kind of space a little bit later for pilot stuff. But nevertheless, the designs and the technology involved always super exciting. So we'll keep a track of JetX and see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll keep you guys up to speed.
Yeah, and look, there's so much growth potential. However, let's just say this. Venture capital money might be drying up real fast for people throwing money around with the way the stock market's headed and the way the economy's headed right now, right?
It's been an interesting week.
It's been a real interesting week. So it's not like
crypto's dead, dying big time.
Yeah, and there's gonna be repercussions for this in markets where venture capital money really kind of stands out and gives people that boost. Now, if the economy goes down that slow, guess what? I mean, that could set eVTOLs back 10 years. And I'm going to tell you why, though. Because if you guys remember the very light jet scenario where very light jets were supposed to take over the marketplace and you had like Eclipse, Diamond, and all these other companies that were really, heavy to get into the very light jet category. And then suddenly the economy crashed. And what ends up happening was, 35% of them never even make it to market. The ones that do come in vastly over cost and never find their real niche. And that marketplace kind of dissolved before it even got there. And that could happen. So just throwing that out there because that could have a very big impact on the eVTOL market. So imitation is the highest form of flattery to the other side of this, but I think I'm still going with Jetoptera because just because, right? All right, folks, let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you think we got it right, and if 10 years from now we'll be looking at this video and we did get it right, we will pat ourselves on the back immensely. A lot. So there's that. All right. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Corey. And he's going to talk to us a little bit more about what the FAA actually thinks about the eVTOL certification process and airmen. So take it away, Corey.
Cool. Yeah. So this next one comes to us from AOPA and has to do with some eVTOL news or some VTOL news. And basically, it just says right here, FAA pumps the brakes on eVTOLs. And what it really comes down to here, as we get into it, is aircraft approval is one thing, of course, as we haven't had yet any actual certificate approved fully to any manufacturer. And then, of course, who's going to fly these things? And we do know there's been this desire in the industry or the upcoming industry to have them be fully automated. Great. Many of the players in there don't think that's going to be the case in the beginning. So we're thinking, okay, we're going to need pilots of some kind. How are these pilots going to be trained? And there's been many companies already looking at that. Got simulators already being built for certain ones. But what it comes down to, if you know anything about certification of airmen, you need to know what category class, just like aircraft. There's different types of licenses or certificates.
Right.
Let me correct myself. So this article talks about basically to say that, so just on May 9th, a report came out that basically gave a whole bunch of uncertainty in trying to figure out how this was going to go, because the FAA previously had been kind of hinting one direction on how the pilots themselves are going to be certificated, and then along with the aircraft as well. And then now with this, people were kind of like up in arms, like, oh, okay, so wait a minute, does that mean now that they're going to need to have the pilots themselves will now be powered lift?
Right.
And so if you had all these airplane pilots and helicopter pilots or dual rated pilots or whatever, all that's out the window now. Now they got to go to powered lift, which is more rare than other ones. We're talking powered lift, like we're talking tilt rotors, those kind of powered lift.
So only V-22 Osprey pilots will have like the in on the whole thing.
There's not a plethora of them, of those out there. Comparatively speaking, let's be honest, but comparatively speaking, less powered lift. So a little bit uncertainty there. And so it just says here, I'll just put a quote down here too. It says the agency is pursuing a predictable framework that will be better accommodate the need to train and certify the pilots who will operate these novel aircraft.
Yep.
The agency responded to a request for further clarification on, does this mean powered lift? And thus, will the agency need to create new category or type ratings for the airmen? And then they just says, and quote, "We'll get back to you."
Hey, wait. There's a joke there. You know what's going to happen?
Yeah, Mike.
No, you know what's going to happen in 10 years when Trevor Jacob calls the FAA and says, "I'd like my license back." They're going to say, "Well, we'll get back to you."
We'll get back.
Sorry. Okay, wait. But in all seriousness, I wanted to step in there for a minute because Embraer just sold their EVA, to I think it's Zanite, acquisition company, right? And Joby, Joby's was trading at a high of 14.3. Their low I think was 361, and they're now trading at 443. Right? I'm going somewhere with this. Lilium, high of 1166. Sure. Their low of 1071. Excuse me, their low of 216, and they're now trading at 271. We've always said that the biggest encumbrance that's coming up on the eVTOL marketplace and urban air mobility is going to be what the FAA does with the certification process, despite what Beta is going to do, despite what Joby is going to do, despite what Lilium's going to do, even Jetoptera, all of them are going to be up against the fact that until the FAA gets up off their butt and they actually develop the framework in order to develop pilots and to develop the certification process itself, and even though we know that that's not going to be, changed so much, everybody else needs pilots too. Venture capitalist money can't make a market appear. But, the saving grace in here is that they know what they're up against, and they do have an idea, but they're going to have to get over this automated versus pilotless aircraft framework first to develop the pilot base, and then they can focus, like we said, on all the other parts, because to stack on top of the airman certification process in the FAA and developing the airways, the rules, the road infrastructure, all the parts to
all of it literally has to be
so much work in front of them. And basically what the FAA did was say, we'll punt. But it's affecting the bottom line of these big venture capitalist firms that have thrown in stuff on SPACs and put in billions, because look, you can try to be the next Tesla of the, of the sky with UAVs or eVTOLs or urban air mobility. That doesn't mean you're going to get there. And as Lucid and others are finding out right now, that there is only one Tesla, and the first one that's going to land this is going to be the one that could be very successful. But there's going to be tons of challenges. I think this is a setback of almost 2 to 3 years on the eVTOL market as a whole, because you now have to worry about how you're going to make your bottom line business model if you can't start developing pilots alongside with the development of the aircraft.
Yeah, once everybody wants to move out of experimental and get certificated, okay, great. But then the airframe is certificated and the power plant's good to go, and maybe maintenance is, your whole thing's ready to go. But there's no one legally allowed to fly this for hire, right? Because that's where everybody's going with this. Okay. And I mean, notwithstanding, like we mentioned, rules of the air, infrastructure, where you're gonna land and take off, all that other stuff. But then, you gotta have somebody in the front, at least for a while, until automation really actually is working as they want it to. Right. And then, of course, when that's approved to be implemented.
I think recently, just to throw this out there, recently the military is experimenting with using microwave technology to beam, I think it was like 1.6 watts of power.
Energy,
just electron out there into the ether. And the interesting part, and the reason why I bring that up is because as you build upon these technologies that are finding their way around the limitations of batteries and so on and so forth, right? The technology is moving much faster at this point than the airman certification process. It's moving like it was even one of those training facilities already had I think it was Beta, right? They're going to start teaching Beta pilots or building the simulators for them. Was it?
Well, no, CAE,
right?
I thought it was CAE had some simulators, literal simulators already.
So
for I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Beta.
All right, so I'm going to jump back. I'm going to jump back in a Jetoptera's field on this one, because right now, looking like going the military route to develop your aircraft and using those funds, and then rather than going into these heavily traded SPACs or going public with a company that you don't really have anything really that substantial as a product that can perform in the marketplace, sounds like so much of a sound strategy, because that means you're building your roots on a technology that you can release into the public when it's time to hit the public, much like the helicopter when it left the military and joined the ranks of the commercial flying industry in the 1970s post-Vietnam.
Yeah, I even wonder, honestly, if some of these companies are waiting long enough for the pilot aspect to come into fruition, if the technology they have integrated into their power plants and their airframes is actually going to be dated.
Yeah.
Right. So this case would be, okay, first to market is even worse now because you're waiting on another component you're not even responsible for.
For sure.
And, I don't know. That's definitely a risk to factor into your business model if this is you.
Well,
think about who's going to fly your aircraft. I mean, I know you obviously are, but you know what I mean? So,
well, everybody else needs pilots too, so that's a problem, right? And if you're looking at Brad's comment like I am, it's a field of dreams out there, no joke, because what he says is kind of plates the saying, build it and they will come, right? It is. Well, it kind of fits, right?
Yeah.
There's so much. There's so much there. I mean, you can expand on that all you want, but for me, I understand that philosophy and that thought process of what's going on in this marketplace. It's gonna be tough, right? And right now, with the way the markets are shifting, it's gonna get a hell of a lot tougher. And if you haven't gotten your S-Pack, and if you haven't gotten your shiny new drone out there, and I'll call it a drone now because if it ain't flying and it has no relative passenger lots like Archer, even Joby, even Lilium, nobody's carried a passenger yet in demos. Only one has, and that's Volocopter, right? So
who took that one at the air show? There's no passengers on board. That's
well, so it was an occupant, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot there, so much more to digest. But I also have to say that I really enjoyed the second video that came out from Jetson 1 too, because that thing looks badass.
Cool. I don't know if I saw it, but yeah, it's cool.
It's very cool. You got anything else on this one?
No, I'm good. You all good?
I am fantastic on it.
Amazing. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this one. We do stuff on aviation, tech, a whole bunch of stuff. So thank you so much. Please let us know in the comments below what to think of this particular topic or anything else you guys think we should talk about with eVTOLs or whatever it might be. Just let us know. We're happy to see and talk about anything that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But definitely eVTOLs. We'll keep you up to speed. And thank you so much.
There you go. And as a kind of a throw it out there, Blue Horseshoe loves Anacott steel is the phrase from the movie Wall Street. There's no good investments right now in the field, I don't think. David has a comment out there. Ooh.
That's true. EHang, and they're moving into a few other places over there in Asia. I know they're trying to move pretty quickly over there.
Now, David, here's the thing though. China we're not going to adopt China's, flight regulations into our FAA structure. So China, by alleviating some of those regulations or not having those regulations in place right now, can have a massive advantage because they could just eschew all that and say, hey, we're just going to do it, right? So that's a great thing as part of the conversation. And thanks for pointing it out, because I should rephrase what I said earlier in the episode, which is no American operator at this point has been, with passengers on board and really done that. So that we know of, that's out there in that space. So, all right. Cool. As Corey said, let us know what you think in the comments below. Okie doke. So we've coined a phrase around here a couple months ago, and I'll say it again. It's called flypad, right? And then basically taking the articulation and the pilot creation ability of flying a helicopter and basically integrating all that into an automated system that fits inside of an iPad and replaces all the complications of augmented, flying resources that you could have in a cockpit, aka autopilots. And Skyryse is one of them. And guess what? They found a buyer in Air Methods. So Air Methods is partnering with the enhanced safety of those systems that are offered by Skyryse, and they're gonna install them in all their fleet. So this is coming. This is actually going to happen, and it's real. This is real news. So very, very hot off the press kind of thing. And it's not a bad thing as far as an investment for them, because it simplifies the control interface, right? Number one.
Yep.
It introduces their flight OS and the hardware and software stack into the aircraft. It oversimplifies, I think, to a degree, the control of the interface of the aircraft, and it has an active air envelope protection system. I would assume that protects it from entering things like settling with power, vortex ring set, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So here's the cool thing about it. They have 400 single-engine helicopters that are going to get retrofitted. Air Methods invested $500 million. Okay, they've got a total investment now of $205 million. And they're working on it to clear its operation in inclement weather. Now, the aircraft they're going to put in is an EC-130 A-Star 350, the Bell 407, and the Pilatus PC-12 is one of the other ones that could possibly receive it. The biggest, I think, drawback right now is the part that's called inclement weather in this actual article. They call it inclement weather, which is AKA IMC, Instrument Meteorological Conditions, or certified for IFR flight. That's going to be a huge hurdle. They're going to have to get past it. Your ideas, your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is certainly quite interesting. We knew the technology's out there. We've talked about it before on the channel. The fact that we showed you guys videos too that they can you can fly an aircraft with an iPad. We kind of you could think of it. Well, it'd be only a matter of time before this would actually become a thing, and it certainly is. Certainly thinking about safety in this case. Obviously, since FlightOS is integrated into obviously all the mechanics of the aircraft, and it could help you maintain the flight envelope, customized to the aircraft's weight and conditions, and of course the characteristics of that airframe. But I'm thinking also in the sense that it'll help some workload. It mentions it'll help with some flight envelope safety management for the pilots. But I'm also thinking, actually, again, passengers, people that may not be actually the pilots, for whatever reason, they do need to, and hopefully rare circumstances, need to operate the aircraft. This is going to make it so they can. I mean, a little bit of training on the Skyryse, and the nurses in the back will be able to land the aircraft if need be without any much trouble. And as you mentioned, once inclement weather is good to go for the actual OS, same thing, right? So even if the weather's pretty bad and something happens, which has happened, you can look at some of the not news articles, but some of the unfortunate reports of pilots and EMS having issues for whatever reason with being single pilot and having an issue. If the crew in the back would be able to take over and land, if possible, this is going to be able to do that. So that is pretty cool, I think.
So look, and not to knock Skyryse at all, because they do have the backing. They have people from Airbus with them, Boeing, Ford, JetBlue, Moog, SpaceX, Tesla, Uber, U.S. military. They've got some pretty good things going on for that company. Not knocking it, right? FlyPad's awesome. It's a great technology. If it saves lives and it enables people to get that next step in the automated process, right? And I know that some helicopter pilots might not like the fact that there's going to be 400 of these devices automatically in the helicopter industry and not into, say, the urban air mobility or the eVTOL market first. Hey, it's going to be out there. It's a necessary evil in making that jump, and to give people the same sort of comfortability that they would have in buying a Tesla these days with full auto drive, right? So you have to get over these hurdles, and this is a big one. Now, the fact that they chose John Hamm as their celebrity apprentice over there to kind of do this for, you can make all the jokes about John Hamm being what it is. It would have been cooler maybe if they got, maybe they got Tom Cruise, because he could have been a little bit more diverse in the fact that he actually flies an A-Star, and he's got more time in helicopters, and he's actually a dual-rated pilot. Yeah. So, hey, that's one thing we have in common with Tom Cruise. But after that, I mean, so here's the other thing. Who follows suit after Air Methods? Because then you have people that are players like PHI and a couple other ones out there that are going to have to, because suddenly Air Methods is going to have a valuable tool to go in and possibly do all-weather, anything kind of ops.
Yeah, with a solution that does more than just that, Yeah. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to keep track and see who, like I said, who follows this and what other sectors of the helicopter industry say, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Let's see about equipping it on our aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that most others will have to follow suit, because I imagine that what will happen is bases across the country, is if they have one of these helicopters equipped in each of their bases across the country that do HEMS work, right? So this is basically what happens. You got to call, you either go on scene or you got to do a patient transport between two facilities, right? And you're either going to go out there and you're going to take this call in the middle of the night, whatever it is, it's bad weather, so on and so forth, unless it's extreme icing, and suddenly you can turn on your Skyryse system, and your Bell 407 is capable of going to this bad weather conditions, because it's been basically certified to do this, and Skyryse is doing all the flying for you, and you just get to be eyes and ears on the situation, monitor, and you can monitor your unimproved landing site, so on and so forth. That's a valuable tool. Everybody else is going to have to play catch up, because otherwise it's going to soon be Air Methods' game to lose, right?
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add from my 2 cents on this too is people that may not be into the HEMS industry, or just outside looking in, helicopters, and they fly to hospitals. A lot of times those helicopters are owned by the hospitals.
Yeah.
So they may be operated by Air Methods, who like maybe supply the crew and things, but actually the aircraft is owned and the contract is managed by the hospital. So it may come to such a point where the hospitals themselves see the benefits of this for either their clients or their image.
Right.
It could be driven by such a thing as image, and that drives other operators to need to follow suit. So it's a bit more to it on the face of it, but like many things in business, there might just be other reasons that people need to adopt it. But either way, I'd say it's going to proliferate more and spread more. So
yeah, there you go. So let us know what you think in the comments below. If we got it wrong with SkyPad technology, if we're giving it a rough ride, but if you also think that this could help the industry, it would be great to hear from you guys, and leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and follow. That'd be awesome. There you go. So for the final tonight, we're gonna leave it to Corey to close out the show with this one from Hawaiian Airlines and Starlink, of all folks.
Amazing. Thank you. Ready
You're welcome.
Go?
You're ready.
Cool. So this one I came across on Engadget, and it just says Hawaiian Airlines will be the first major air carrier to offer Starlink on board. So hey, have you guys ever been on an airplane going somewhere, and the flight's long enough, and you're like, oh man, I was gonna watch that movie I downloaded yesterday, and you forgot you didn't download that movie. Crap. And then you're like, okay, fine, I'll just download it. I'll just get the internet on board. I'll just download it. You never done it before, but how hard could it be? And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not paying those rates just to download a movie. And then you sit there in the seat for another 4 hours just twiddling your thumbs.
There you go.
Because you didn't bring your book either. Long story short, Hawaiian Airlines says, hey, Starlink is a solution we want to try, and they're going to put it on their aircraft over there between the islands and between California coast. So basically, they're going to start deploying the Starlink equipment and select aircraft in 2023. The big catch here too, it's pretty cool, is it's going to be just free. It's not something you have to pay for. You get on the plane, and they even said that they're going to simplify the login. So you just maybe you just select the Wi-Fi on board, whatever the Wi-Fi name is, and it just works. Right? There's no login, there's no paying. If you're on a Hawaiian Airlines flight in the next year, and then after that, you're going to have Starlink for free. So pretty cool, man.
I think that we're just months, I think, away, probably within the next cycle year, of say a Tesla product that's going to come equipped with Starlink built in. Like you could buy a GE product with an LTE antenna built into it. I think that's right around the corner, because why not? Makes perfect rational sense, right? And then it also gives you your hooks back into your neural net learning system of all your cars with self-drive. That's another awesome tie-in right there. So
yeah,
but what I really think is that this is the beginning of the end for some of these services that have been long time on aircraft that we know have been horrible, like DirecTV on some flights. Could be hit or miss. They've given you a lot of options now in the back of rear screen entertainment, and the headrest has really made that leap and bound over the last couple of years. However, I always traveled when I was in the airlines. I had an iPad with me, and I just hung it on the back of the seat, and I didn't care what I was on, because I had enough stuff downloaded on it that I knew during my commutes and whatnot, I didn't really need their stuff, right? Which is awesome. Occasionally I got on a plane and I was like, oh, they have a movie I actually want to watch, so I didn't use my iPad because there was a fresh release. Okay, fair enough. Game changer is going to be cruise ships when they jump on board this, because right now, being on the ocean, and the other part of it is, you get on these planes, you pay $9 for the flight, so on and so forth, and the speeds suck, right? It's really not that great of an experience.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now the other thing is, that doesn't mean I also want to have the guy next to me with 128-bit connection, so he can turn around and talk on Snapchat for the next 7 years. While I'm flying next to him.
Live stream the flight when he
right,
because
right. I don't
he's
want
on TikTok doing a live stream, and you're like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, like just shut the hell up. No, I don't want that either, right? I know Snapchat, you wouldn't do that type of thing, but you get where I'm coming from, right? So there's a lot to it, but I think this is the beginning of what it is going to be. That I think they also said in this one that Delta's already doing some testing with this. But I still say this, before not too long, you're going to see the Starlink phone.
You say that, and there's been rumors of a Tesla phone, I think they called it, and that I thought it was rumored like last year. I could be wrong. Maybe it's been longer than that, but a Tesla phone. And let's be honest, Tesla phone, whatever OS they come up with, obviously probably going to be Linux based, boom. And then you throw a Starlink radio in there and you literally have internet anywhere because
I figured out there's one problem though. There's only one problem, right? You'd have to buy into the Starlink system for your home, because the minute you went inside, you would lose your phone and your internet. So you'd have to have some sort of receiver repeater from inside your home to outside.
You have a repeater in the house that just projects outside.
Right, but the second part is that interior of some buildings would really suck also for a while. But but if you really relied on sat phones and stuff like that previously, or if you have a big yacht, if you have a private jet, if you're out on a,
yeah,
big sellers on that, right? So other customers will be attracted to this type of product.
Yeah, and there'll be buyers for such a product if it works like they hope it. I mean, Starlink's already getting faster speeds, but yeah, if they're integrated into these vehicles or places or remote and it just works, people are gonna buy it.
Just had a random thought. Elon Musk sitting on a yacht, even though I know he couch surfs more than anything, but he's sitting on a yacht and he goes one day, it'd be great to have my own internet out here that doesn't suck on this provider that I have on my, my yacht. And then he kind of goes,
fast forward 5 years.
I need this.
SpaceX is up, Starlink is up.
I need this.
And then he goes back to that boat and he's like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I got this now. But the other part of it is, dude, they're putting rockets into the skies so fast now. I think they got like tandem launches going from Vandenberg like within the next 24 hours, and they got one here at Space Coast like a day and a half after that. I'm watching rockets go into space so fast right now, I can't even count.
Just a few weeks ago, they passed the fastest turnaround of a rocket ever. I think it was 13 days or 10 days or something. So from a Falcon 9 first stage returning, it was up and back on the pad and successfully took off and landed again. I think, 10 days or 13 or 12 days,
That's
something
incredible.
like that turnaround. So, and they're putting out a second Raptor version, like one a day or some craziness. It's just like,
good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. All right, let's close it out.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Yeah. So with that, thanks. This comes again. This is Hawaiian Airlines Starlink one. If you like that, please let us know in the comments below what you think about Starlink or flying, or have you ever been bored on a plane? Of course, I have. And what did you do? And hey, what games would you have played? Because we're gamers too. So, but hey, like, share, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Thank you so much for the support.
There you go. And you know what? From now on, when I fly, what I'm gonna have after next week, Steam Deck. That's gonna be pretty cool. So excited.
Yeah, and you could go to Hawaii and play
games the whole time, right? The only problem, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to make sure that none of them have to have any downloadable content. So, Brad, thank you very much for the compliment. We appreciate it so much. Hey guys, that's all the time we got for today. We'll check back with you next week, and we appreciate all the time and energy, and of course all the new subs and all the people that have been attracted to the show. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we will catch up with you guys next week.
Thank you.
See ya. Bye-bye. Later. See ya.
Later.
This was show 106, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
God, I hope so. Otherwise, I got that wrong this whole time.
Whatever.
Whatever, folks. See you guys later. Take care. Have a great night. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.